Unfortunately, most of the patients miss the early diagnosis, and that's why they'll end up into problems.
Let's discuss the underlying mechanism of diabetic retinopathy.
Well, Dr. Path, there are multiple mechanisms. One is the advanced glycation pathway, the polyol pathway, and several other mechanisms. But let us not go into the pathophysiology, but what are the important things which cause diabetic retinopathy? The most important is the degree of hyperglycemia or the degree of glycemic control. The second most important thing is the duration of diabetes. Sometimes longer duration of diabetes, even when controlled, can lead to retinopathy. And third is the presence of hypertension in a person with diabetes definitely increases the risk of retinopathy. So these three mechanisms are there. Unfortunately, most of the patients miss the early diagnosis, and that's why they'll end up into problems. So in addition to the pathogenetic factors which we already discussed, like the protein kinase C pathway, COX-2 activation, the phospholipase A2 activation, then the advanced glycosylation end products, hexosamine pathway, all these pathways to one or other extent play an important role in initiating as well as worsening of the diabetic retinopathy.
So basically there is no clear underlying mechanism. It can be any of them or it can be something else.
Yes,
also.
absolutely.
Yeah, and even though if diabetes is controlled, diabetic retinopathy can progress.
Yes,
so
it's a long duration of diabetes, and sometimes genetic susceptibility also plays a role.
Yes, because so many times like people have that tendency, if diabetes is controlled, and even though if diabetic retinopathy is progressing, they have the thinking that my diabetes is controlled and why it's happening like that. So we have to clear this thing, that even though your diabetic status is controlled, your 𝐻bA1c is under control, and even though diabetic retinopathy can progress, because it is a separate disease, it's not just related to diabetes, it's a whole new separate disease which can go even after diabetes is controlled.
Yes, very well said. And in UKPDS, you know that 20% of the people had diabetic retinopathy at the diagnosis of diabetes.
And that's why we always prefer to have a screening of retina at the time of diagnosis of diabetes.
Absolutely, yes.
Yes, and even type 1 also sometimes when it is a delayed diagnosis.
Correct.
Yeah.
So type 1 general recommendations are at 5 years
yes.
to start with, and in type 2 right from the diagnosis every year.
Very true, because it will tell you from how long the diabetes is there.
Absolutely, because the microvascular complications sometimes start even before the clinical onset of diabetes, both micro and macro.
Yes, true, sir.